Hello and welcome. Hi, everyone. My name is Tia. I'm the director of the Compassion Project. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm so excited to be with you today and to have the wonderful Sonja Benton with us today in honor of Pride Month, but also hoping to make this a recurring series and conversation and education around inclusive communities and communities where people belong. Um, yes, so I have the wonderful Sonja here today with us. Sonja is someone who I know to be so generous with their time, with their expertise, working with Bridgercare, with SafeZone, teaching at MSU, and also working with Pride House, and literally brings, I want to say, over a decade of experience and advocacy to us today, and is just someone I've come to know as a friend and admired in so many different realms of my life. So grateful for your time and to be with us today. Sonja, how are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you, Dia. Thank you for the nice introduction. Kind of a quick note, I use they, them, theirs pronouns for your audience. So there is that. I also identify as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, as does my partner. And yeah, I've been doing this kind of work for roughly 15 years now. So it's been a hot minute.
Yes, I mean, that's incredible. And um, you're also someone I know to be very protective of your care for yourself and others to be able to be in this work for 15 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I feel that when I'm around you. And I think that's also a great service to our entire community, to keep pushing and keep working, and seeing progress in these areas. Um, so with Compassion Project, our mission is to spread and teach compassion through art and mindfulness. And also part of education is also conversation, and is also sharing resources, and is also staying up to date on data and reports and all that kind of good stuff, good nerdy stuff. So today I'm hoping people, if you're a teacher, if you're someone who's with youth, if you're part of a family, um, if you are in a workplace, that all of this information I'm hoping feels relevant to you. Because if you're a teacher, if you're an educator, right, your goal is to ultimately hold and create the conditions for your students to succeed. And that requires meeting them where they are and loving and supporting them unconditionally. It also means if you're in a workplace, I think a lot of us are tired of separating our work selves from our true selves. And so how can we bring those more into alignment to reduce things like burnout and to increase things like retention and to be in meaningful relationship with one another? So I think there's so many reasons why these threads connect us all, but just wanted to name a few of those to ground us in the conversation today. Cool. So also with anything you want to say on that thread, Sonja?
I think you got it.
Okay, cool. And can you speak just a little bit? I think people will be curious about your role in the community as a teacher and any other role you want to speak to.
Yeah, absolutely. So many years ago, I was part of a group of students campaigning to bring SafeZone to MSU's campus. And SafeZone is an international kind of training program around LGBTQ plus inclusivity and terminology and understanding. Obviously, it's changed a lot over the years because terminology changes, language changes all the time. And then I had the good fortune of Cami, who's the outreach coordinator for Bridgercare, wanting to go through the SafeZone program. And Cami went through it with me and then chatted with me about potentially making one that was similar directly for healthcare professionals. And that was a few years ago. And from there, we started teaching this to healthcare providers across the state of Montana. And then recently, we've launched an education one as well for K through 12 teachers. So I get to teach this kind of content, this kind of stuff very directly to a lot of different types of care providers. So everybody from like medical professionals in ERs around the state to like kindergarten teachers. And it's always pretty fun and pretty different depending on the group of people, what I tend to focus on. But there's some pretty clear through lines for all of this. And we're going to kind of talk about some of those today. Obviously, this is a really big topic, right? There's always more to learn.
That's beautiful. And I think that'll be important and interesting for folks to hear about, and to also hear that this started as an idea and has spread and become multiple programs, educating and involving so many people at this point. And that's really exciting. And I want to thank you for that good work.
I think we have a list, and it's something like 3,000 individuals have gone through SafeZone, and the allies trainings provided by Bridgercare, like writ large in total, since those have existed, which is a lot.
That is. And yeah, that's amazing that education and advocacy is happening at that scale. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about that in your work. Cool. So I want to move us into just a little bit of everything that we're going to talk about. I'm going to lead a quick visualization because this is the Compassion Project after all, and we like to introduce mindfulness and curiosity and beauty and being with ourselves and care for ourselves into these topics, and actually lead with practicing and modeling that. And then hand it over to Sonja to create more of a through line between Pride Month to supporting the LGBTQ plus community and compassion. And then we'll get into some statistics, which are a little bit heavier, but then we'll move into action, because compassion is a feeling, but it is also an action. And we need to move our values into places where we're taking action and seeing progress and seeing change. So I want everyone listening and Sonja to find a position where you're comfortable, take notice of your body. And as you are getting to this place, take your time, but also bring to mind the last time, if you can, you saw a rainbow. Remember this place where you were, where you saw this rainbow. Remember the time. Bring to mind the landscape. And if you are able to today, if this feels good, you may close your eyes. And if not, you can also draw, you can also walk, whatever feels good for you today, as we offer each other a mindful few moments together. So let's bring our attention back to this rainbow. And if you don't have a specific memory in mind, just imagine a rainbow. Can you see the rainbow in its full beauty? Can you imagine the landscape in which you find yourself placed in? Are there rocks or mountains around you? Are there grasses or water? As you're imagining and visualizing this landscape, recognize the same earth holding you in that moment is holding you today, is holding you right now. You might even imagine yourself in this landscape, moving through it in a way that feels relaxing or awe-inspiring. Imagine the wind and the air on your skin. Imagine the wind and the air blowing through your hair and across your clothing and across the landscape. And then turn your attention to the sky. See if you can imagine each part of the rainbow, where its edges begin, and the curve of it, and the edges where it meets the sky and dissolves into the sky and into the atmosphere. Allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel in this moment as you consider this rainbow. Maybe it's awe, maybe it's wonder, maybe you're feeling beauty or calm, excitement. Allow the colors of this rainbow to actually wash over you. See the reds, the oranges, the yellows, the blues, the greens, and the violets, and every possible color in between. Again, return to that feeling that is coming up for you as you imagine this rainbow, as you hold space for this majestic rainbow. Maybe acknowledge the mystery or the power or the majesty of nature. And consider that that same power, majesty, mystery also lives in you. Consider the idea that we are nature, and that we are as diverse and colorful and full of possibility as this rainbow. As we begin to close this activity, take any last few moments with this rainbow that feels good to you. Maybe offer some gratitude or just hold on to any pieces of that memory that feel important, knowing that you can always come back to it in your imagination. And also, as you come back, I welcome you to check in with the breath and check in with the body. Maybe take a stretch. Maybe give yourself a hug. And welcome back. Thank you so much for that practice. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Yeah, I think it kind of goes without saying where I'm going with this, but hopefully that opened up some curiosity or at least some calm in everyone that was listening. So how was that for you, Sonja?
It was good. I mean, I I think the last time I saw a rainbow was actually with my significant other on a drive to Red Lodge, which has been recently flooded. So it
Yeah,
was nice to remember that kind of landscape and that calm instead of how it feels right now, which is a little hectic and a little scary. But yeah, feeling it in that place of like calm and peacefulness is a good memory. So it was nice to revisit it.
yeah. Well, I'm glad. And it's also important to remember, I am glad you mentioned that because, especially when we're working with memory or working with our past selves, it's very often that the emotions are very complex and that the emotions often are difficult or challenging. And so to be just really kind with ourselves, and if there's ever a point of overwhelm, to know that we can come back to an anchor, we can disengage with the practice entirely, because it's only helpful if we are in a comfortable level of discomfort, right? We're not going for overwhelm. So I appreciate you saying that, and I just wanted to bring that up for anybody who had a similar experience. Cool. So what is coming to mind for you, Sonja, today as why compassion is related to Pride Month, but also the ongoing effort of building inclusive communities of belonging?
Yeah. So something that I heard a long time ago, I actually don't remember where, is that empathy is a feeling and compassion is an action,
Mm,
right? And this idea that the people that it is the hardest for us to have empathy for, and therefore act on that empathy, right? Via
mhm.
compassion, are the people that are the most unlike us. And so when we are looking around at the world and we see the people that don't look like us, that don't behave like us, that have different kinds of lives than we lead, have different values or have different ideas, right? Those are the people where it's hardest to feel that empathy. And so it's important to like recognize like empathy is a feeling, but it's also a feeling that we can control, right? I can choose it. I can choose to have empathy for those unlike me and really embody that, even as it feels scary or hard, right? And really live in that feeling of understanding, right, for other people. And then to not just stop there, but to continue that feeling and really let it be embodied by my actions and my words and my choices, through compassion, right? To let that out into the world. So empathy is the feeling I like to think that you like embody in your
Mhm.
thoughts and in your soul and in your heart, right?
Mhm.
And compassion is the way that you let that be known outside of yourself. Um, and so for me, I think, right, compassion is most important when we're looking at people that may not be like us, right? That's when we need to really be mindful and thoughtful and cognizant of how we are interacting with others, and to do so compassionately, right? Because ideally, right, these kinds of actions can change the world that we live in and make it a better place for everybody.
Totally. Yeah, I think there's so much I want to pull out of that. It was so well said. Like my heart is filling up as you're speaking of, compassion can be hardest for those that seem the most unlike us. Yet empathy is a choice, and cultivating and continuing to wake up every day and choose common humanity is a choice, and something that we can hold each other to as well as something we can build in community through loving accountability. And I love all that. Um, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
it's also not always easy. And I want to like really affirm that it isn't.
yeah,
There are plenty of people that, I teach that are unlike me as bad as much as another human can be. And yet it is my job to treat them with compassion and empathy and really, really ensure that that's there for them. And that's important to me, like as a value piece, as an instructor, especially, but also just as a person, right?
mhm.
Um, and like it isn't always the easiest thing to do either, so I want to leave space for that, but also like the trying is important.
Yes, the continually trying. I think it's a great person to follow related to this topic as well, and just a wonderful human is Alok. And I will include their information in the captions. But they say love is trying harder for one another. And I love that we're going to mess up, we're going to be imperfect, but love means that we continue to try harder to get it right. Whatever right is, whatever that means. Sweet. Would you take us through a little bit of some of the things you want folks to know going into this topic? How can we? I also want to asset frame and remember that some of these things that you're going to share don't define this community and don't define these individuals, right? If we're talking about common humanity, we're remembering that everyone carries a dream in their heart, that everyone carries possibility and potential, and every human life is valuable. And so I wanted to just asset frame that before, which is from
Yes.
Fabian Shorter's, I'll link him as well, before we go into some heavier statistics.
So important note, these statistics, like all statistics on especially human beings, right, are flawed. We don't have enough studies on these. We do not have enough repeated studies on these. We do not have enough information kind of writ large about the LGBTQ plus community because it is something that hasn't been studied all that fully. And that is something that is slowly changing, but unfortunately, it's slow, right? Studies take a long time. There are a lot of effort, but a lot of preliminary studies are where I've pulled these pieces from, and most of them have been done by like the Human Rights Campaign, the Trevor Project, and other really well-known organizations. So you can access those there, and I will try to get like a full list of where we pulled these from for y'all in the caption or in the description.
Perfect.
Beyond that kind of piece there, I wanted to note that there is a content warning for these statistics, right? And the reason that I'm sharing these statistics is that I really want to frame why this is so important and why we have to care about this community and why that's so relevant very directly. That involves like discussions of mental health that are incredibly difficult, studies of discussions of houselessness, self-harm, addiction, medical neglect, familial abandonment, assault, especially sexual assault, and eating disorders. I will call on Tia to put a note in the description for y'all of where to skip forward to after we're done talking about these, so then you can just skip ahead. But if any of these are harmful for you, please don't feel like you need to know these statistics in order to understand. Because at its core, right, ideally we should care about other people because they're people. Statistics just often help us frame how like life and death these things can really be. And so that's why I'm sharing them, because I do think they're really, really useful in that way. But I also want everybody listening to be well.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's great.
I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm just going to kind of list these out. So they're going to go relatively quick. What I want you to do is really clear your mind of all the distractions and really pay attention and let these sink in. Because that is the best way to process really hard and really heavy information. All right. 79% of LGBTQ plus teens report feeling depressed or down in the past week. 95% of LGBTQ plus youth report trouble sleeping at night. 1/3 of lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth and 1/4 of transgender youth have attempted suicide at least once, and more than half report seriously considering it. 1 in 5 transgender individuals have been denied care by a physician, which becomes even more likely and a much higher statistic when they are also Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. LGBTQ plus people have twice the risk of exposure to traumatic experiences, as defined by the Psychological Association of America. 52.4% of LGBTQ plus students reported hearing homophobic remarks from teachers or other school staff. And 51.3% of students reported hearing homophobic remarks from teachers or other school staff at large. That is not other students, to reaffirm. That is just the people working in the schools. 86% of LGBTQ plus students were harassed or assaulted at school. 70% of transgender students said that they'd avoided bathrooms because they felt unsafe or uncomfortable. And that's public bathrooms.
Yeah, let that sink in if you're listening. Maybe take a deep breath and just, yeah, have a moment of mindful silence with us. Yeah, thank you again so much, Sonia, for highlighting why this is so important, that it has, that our language, that our actions have consequences, real material consequences on people's health and their bodies, and their ability to succeed and thrive.
Yeah. And here's where I also kind of want to give a quick disclaimer, right? These things are not inherently happening because LGBTQ plus people have this like biological reality, right? It is because of the way society and other people are treating LGBTQ plus people on the regular basis, right? There isn't something that like makes these rates biologically more relevant. It is directly because of like marginalization and societal pressure. And while the issues are different, you can see this with any marginalized group and how they've been studied and like what's going on, and the root causes are very similar, right? It's the constant microaggressions, the feeling of not belonging, the feeling of nobody caring about you, right? That really create these statistics.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to note here, because I do think that this is a thing for the community, not every single part of being LGBTQ plus is this bleak. Most of it isn't. There's a lot of joy and love and community around these identities, right? That create some really beautiful, colorful possibilities for people.
Mm-hmm.
I, as an LGBTQ plus identified person, get so many freedoms and so many wonderful people in my life directly because of those identity groups, right? I get this community, right, that I'm inherently a part of and that really, really cares about each other, right? I get to be in relationships where expectations get to be defined by the people in them rather than the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
I get to be a person whose family is determined by what works for me instead of what the world has decided should work.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to really care and love for people in a way that I don't think in the US is as common, right, outside of the LGBTQ plus community. So, I mean, there is a lot of joy and pleasure and love here too, right? There's a lot of hurt and pain and sadness, but it's also about being human, right?
Yeah, totally. I hear that. It's kind of like if freedoms culturally or societally are being restricted, there's a necessity to create your own pocket of freedom and your own ways that there is freedom and joy happening, because that's necessary for, that's what it means to be human, and it's what it means to be moving towards life and joy and all those wonderful things we all want. um, Sweet. Yes, thank you for that. Highlighting both sides of that. So, Sonia, what should we
Yes.
do? What are the things that, what are the kind of the two or three main things you want people to do to turn this empathy into compassion and into action?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's kind of like the initial 3 steps that I usually talk about in pretty much everything I do, which is the first thing is you have to really embrace your braveness and intervene when you're hearing hate speech or harassment happen. And this goes for every person and community, regardless. I think this is an important thing to do always. Um, this is an essential part of practicing compassion, of engaging your empathy, and also like being an ally, right, to any community. Bravery is a part of it, and you really need to stick into it. If you hear a coworker, right, like I have many times, say something that's super not a, like a slur, for example, right, it is your job as another human being to talk to them about it and be like, hey, the language that you have used here really made me uncomfortable, right? This hurt my feelings. I really viewed you as somebody that pride yourself on this, and I didn't see that reflected in this statement, right? So some of the phrases I use really frequently as a way of calling people into these kinds of conversations are, when you say blank, it makes me uncomfortable because blank, right? So if you say insert horrible thing of your choice here, right? It makes me uncomfortable because I really care about this community and I view it as my job to provide an equitable teaching opportunity for all students, right? Or when you say blank, it makes me uncomfortable because I have a younger sibling that is part of this community, or whatever. You can make it about you. Usually that works a lot better because people value one-on-one and personal relationships,
Totally.
right? Yeah. Always, as usual, if I don't have time for a big conversation, I can just be like, I don't find that funny. I don't think that's appropriate.
Totally. Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Those are great. Thank you. What else would you suggest folks do?
I think is especially in that realm of just like a life skill, which is apologizing effectively, right? We all make mistakes. We all mess up. I've messed up. I've messed up my own pronouns. I've messed up my partner's pronouns. I've messed up everybody's pronouns, I'm pretty sure at this point, because I'm not always very good at speaking. So if you mess up, right? And I'm focusing on pronouns and names because I think that's where this happens a lot, but you can apply this to anything. Just apologize and correct yourself. Something really, really simple. I'm so sorry. I'll work on it. Repeat the original statement, but correctly this time, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do.
About you, right? Like I like that you said apologize effectively, because I think I've seen this or I've done this, I've apologized and then made it about me, which then becomes an ineffective apology because it's really about the other person. So I appreciate that language there.
Yeah, and like this is hard, right? And it's okay to feel bad that you've messed up or to feel guilt or to cry about something, but the job is to not be doing that with the person who you just harmed, right? I like to go home, cry on my cats or my dog or my partner. They're great. That's what they're there for, is for the emotional support part of my life, right?
Yeah.
The person who's the student whose name I just messed up, that's not what they're there for. Their job is not to emotionally support me at all, right?
Right. All right,
Yep.
bring us home with the last one.
Yeah. So I know we're coming at the end of Pride Month, but something that you should be doing, even when it isn't Pride Month, is getting educated and getting involved, right? This community doesn't cease existing just because it isn't June anymore. And events around this community don't stop existing because it's June. I actually do less of my workshops for teaching during June than any other month because there are other resources for people to like engage with. The first step, watch, read, listen to, etc. Media made by LGBTQ plus people about their own experiences, right?
Yeah.
There are so many cool movies, TV shows, books, podcasts. Name your media of choice here. Mine's books, so that's always what I know the best.
All right.
All right.
A couple more things, and then
Yes, next
we'll
thing.
wrap up and let folks get on with it.
Yeah. Get trained. Get trained. I offer trainings. This is a shameless self plug here.
Yes.
Get trained. Get trained by the people doing the trainings. Go to the Bridgercare allyship trainings. Whole site just about it. As well as a list of, like, inclusive providers if you want that around the state. Go to SafeZone trainings. Interact with me on a personal level, and I will definitely set something up if what your workplace or your life needs don't match what those orgs currently offer. I just did something cool with a healthcare program that's like multi-statewide. So that's neat and new and fun. So, and you know, I've done plenty of stuff with like students at colleges and things like that too. And then also go to Pride events, but be careful to not take up space that's not meant for you, right? And a few things I will say, absolutely go to drag shows, tip the performers, Tip the performers. Tip the performers. But go to drag shows. They're there for people to go to and to have fun at. As somebody that's helped organize drag shows for a very, very long time, they're very fun. They're intended to be there to kind of mess with your feelings about gender and sexuality in general. They can be a learning experience, not always a super comfortable one, but they're also very fun. Just make sure to tip your performers, right?
Yep.
The spaces where it isn't as okay to be are the spaces that are clearly delineated as being really meant for LGBTQ plus people. And you'll know what those are because it'll be pretty obvious, right?
Yep.
There'll be spaces where they're like, hey, this is a healing space, this is a connection space, this is a commiseration space. Those are not meant for you if you are an ally and not a member of the community, right?
Right. Yeah.
The big public, like colorful events, those go to them, have fun, allow yourself to be photographed at them, be proud of it. My favorite story to share around this, and I know how like tense it can be as somebody that's kind of publicly visible like teachers are and like medical professionals are, is I saw my primary care physician at a Black Lives Matter rally in the summer of 2020. And it made me feel so held and so much better as somebody that's half Mexican to talk to her about my actual lived experience and impacts on my health. It made me feel a lot better having her as my primary care physician. It was actually like this huge relief for me.
Yeah.
But it's also good to make sure that your public and your private persona, like Tia said at the beginning, match up more than don't, right?
Yep.
The values I am saying I had in my personal life also are things that I'm comfortable being part of my public work, right? And not pretending that those aren't connected.
Yeah. The two aren't, we've been taught to believe that they're separate when they're not. And yeah, we should be brave together around that. Because like you
And
said,
like
it
genuinely,
has real impacts. You may connect with someone who needs you. You may be support or positivity where someone was feeling hopeless. You may make a relationship that lasts your entire life, right? These are the things that sparked as a result of being
right.
brave together.
Honestly, like, and I teach primarily conservative identifying male 18-year-old students that are white. That is the majority of who I teach.
Mhm.
And I have never had a student decide they didn't want to be part of my class after talking with me about anything I've done in public, even if they personally disagreed with it, because I feel pretty comfortable being like, yeah, that's who I am. And I'm not going to lie to you about that, but I'm also not going to grade you on that or make you feel unwelcome in this space because of that. And usually those are the students I actually have really good relationships with because they appreciate that honesty, right? They don't have to guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even if they personally, right, disagree with my own personal views, they also trust me to know about that and to not like look down on them for it, which I think is an opportunity for us to connect on a more real level and to give them space to talk about things that they maybe don't have somewhere else to talk about.
Totally. They may be looking for, even if they don't agree with you, they may be looking for an honest role model in their life, a transparent and authentic role model in their life, even if your identities are couldn't be more different. You may have things to connect on or ways to support that person.
Exactly. Yeah. Like honestly, it's always been worth it for me. And I have been openly out teaching since I started teaching. It has never not been worth it. It has been occasionally hard, but it's always been worth it. And
Mhm.
that's something I really want to give people because I think there's so much fear around that, like so much fear of being fired, of being disliked, of like having it impact your job negatively. And I've just really not seen that. And it's not because my bosses have typically agreed with me either, but because they trust me to hold the ethical values that I actually say I hold because they can see it in the rest of my life.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think that's really reassuring. And for any and a call in to anybody who is feeling scared, know your boundaries and um I think a goal in my life is to make fewer and fewer decisions based on fear. All right. Well, this has been such a wonderful time with you. I'm so grateful. I'd love to keep these conversations going. And if people enjoyed this conversation, if you want to learn more, support our Patreon, join our Patreon, share this video through YouTube or through Patreon. And so we can continue to develop more content, so we can bring more people into this space, into this community, and get these messages out. That's another way to take action, since we're ending with taking action, is if you support this conversation in our work and the ways we want to build bridges between school and community. Support us through our Patreon and share it with the people you know. I would really love that. And I'd love to keep these conversations going through your support.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to in the next couple of days, Sonja? What are you excited about?
Um, I mean, I am going to a wedding with a friend. So that'll be fun. I'm literally just going as a plus one. I will know nobody there. But my friend didn't want to go by themselves. So I'm looking forward to that. I know it's wedding season. So for everybody traveling to weddings, stay safe, stay smart, and be careful. For anybody struggling with any of the kind of this time of the year environmental disasters, know that many people are helping, many people are thinking of you, and all of that. I know it's really tough. Family currently going through that, so I want to hold us like in that space and not pretend it's not happening. For anybody struggling with hopelessness due to any of the political decisions being made in our country in the last few days, I hope that this was a moment of light and of joy and of affirmation that you need. And I would encourage you to try to get yourself involved. I found that the best balm for hopelessness is community. So really try to find a community with others, whether that's going to Pride events over the next couple of days, in which case please do that, or getting involved in a local organization. All of this stuff is interconnected. I don't want to pretend that it's not. So be Pride and have a happy day with as much of the joy you can find in it.
Yeah, know that Sonja and I are sending you all of our joy, all of our love. Thank you for your time, and take care, everybody.